Welcome to Live Interactive English. I'm your host, Nina.
I am your host, Shane.
And today we are covering part 2 of the Telltale Heart.
And we remember in part 1 of this story, a young man murders an old man because he had a blue-colored eye that this guy thought was evil looking. So he killed him based on the way that he looked.
That is crazy. So have you ever experienced people maybe treating you differently?
Bullying me?
Just because of the way you look?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes,
really?
absolutely.
What did they do?
My nose. They would make fun of my nose.
What's wrong with your nose?
They said it was too big. They called me like slope nose. They would call me the hook because a hook looks like that. They were friends, most of them, who would make fun of me.
Aww.
And I don't think they meant it because I would make fun of them too, but it made me quite insecure about my nose.
Aww.
And every night I would sleep like this to try to push down my nose so that it wouldn't stick out like that. Yeah. How about you? Did anybody ever make you feel bad about the way you look?
Yeah, all the time. I mean, especially when I was in Portugal, I didn't look like everyone else. Right. So they would make fun of me because according to them, I'm Chinese, like the only Chinese person there.
Yeah.
And then when I was in Taiwan, they would make fun of me for being too dark or too hairy.
Oh, wow.
And just, being that odd one out.
Yeah, because I guess, you are, since you're mixed, it's hard for you to fit in like in any specific box for people to put you in, so you're different automatically.
Yeah.
So for some people, they'll think that's very interesting, but when you're a kid, kids like to make fun of people.
Yeah, who are different, right?
Yeah. Okay, let's get into, I want to find out what happened to this man after he murdered this old guy. It's so sad. Okay, let's take a look.
Soon after, 3 police officers knocked on the front door. They were called by a neighbor who heard a scream. The young man invited the police inside, and they all sat and talked directly above where the old man's body lay. The young man lied and said that the scream came from him when he was having a bad dream. He also said that the old man was away. The young man seemed to be convincing the officers, but as they spoke, a strange sound began to fill his ears. At first, he wasn't sure what it was. However, as the noise became louder, he realized that it was the old man's heart. It was still beating under the floor.
And welcome back to part 2 of the Telltale Heart.
Okay, so this story, this is a continuation of part 1.
Yes.
And in part 1, just as a little reminder, in part 1, there is a young man who lives with an old man. This old man has a creepy blue eye. Well, this guy actually thinks it's evil. So, due to the fact that this poor old man has a different colored eye and it's blue, the young man decides to murder him.
Horrible.
Horrible. So he's murdered this old man because he had a blue eye.
How many? You have 2 blue eyes.
I've got 2
right?
blue eyes. I don't know if this guy, it doesn't really say that he only had 1 blue eye.
Mm-hmm. But one of them was
One
unique.
of them is blue, and it was probably unique, at least in some way.
Yeah.
So, but I'm guessing probably 1 brown eye, 1 blue eye.
Maybe.
All right, so let's find out what happens now.
Okay, so soon after, 3 police officers knocked on the front door.
Dun, 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 dun. Police!
Yeah, soon after he murdered the old man, right?
Right, and hit him, chopped him up, hit him under the floor.
Yes, but before he got
Cleaned
murdered,
up all the blood.
Before he got murdered, he screamed, right?
He did scream.
Okay. So they were called by a neighbor who heard a scream. The young man invited the police inside, and they all sat and talked directly above where the old man's body lay.
Oh, that is creepy. So there's just basically a dead body right under
the floor.
Right under the floorboards where they're talking.
Yes. And the word directly is an adverb. It means when something happens without any other involvement or without anything in between. So, for example, my school is directly across the street from the park.
Okay. Continuing the story, the young man lied and said that the scream came from him when he was having a bad dream. So he lies and says that, yeah, I was having a nightmare. I got so scared that I screamed.
Okay, I think that kind of would make sense, right? So it might be
in the middle of the night, you scream because you get scared from a nightmare. It's reasonable.
Yeah.
Reasonable. He also said that the old man was away.
Okay, so when someone is away, that means they went somewhere else.
Right, they're not staying at the house now. They're staying somewhere else. Okay, all right.
Okay, does sound kind of suspicious. All right, continuing. The young man seemed to be convincing the officers, but as they spoke, a strange sound began to fill his ears. Okay, so he seemed to be convincing the police officers.
Right.
So when you convince someone, it means you make them believe, right?
Yeah, you make them believe you. If I try to convince you, I'm trying to make you believe what I'm saying.
Yeah, so last time you were trying to convince me that you didn't have a birthday party when you did.
Yeah, that's true. I'm not very convincing.
Yeah.
No. Okay, so at first, he wasn't sure what it was. All right, so here's the sound beating, and he's like, what's that? Okay.
Yeah.
However, as the noise became louder, he realized that it was the old man's heart. It was still beating under the floor.
Okay, that is scary.
Now this is starting to sound like a horror movie.
Yes, very scary.
Dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun.
Okay, please stop.
Could you imagine it? I could totally imagine it. So, realize is a verb. This is one of our vocabulary words. It means to notice or understand something that you did not notice or understand before. Okay, so he realized that it was coming from underneath, and he thinks it's the old man's heart beating still.
Wow.
So, for example, you could say, John didn't realize that Chloe was upset until she started crying. Oh, what did he do to her?
Must have said something silly. Boys always do that.
Boys are the worst.
All right, so heartbeat. Beat here is a verb, and it's when your heart moves and makes a sound, like a drum. And it's like it pumps blood through your body.
Yeah,
right?
it's the sound of it pumping through your body and contracting, right? Okay.
So for example, his heart beat quickly when he heard the good news. Oh, okay, so he was really excited and happy.
So yeah, your heart can be beating because you're really excited in either a good way or in a bad way.
Yeah, like if you're scared or nervous.
Because I think being scared is a type of excitement, right? Just to be excited means to just kind of be worked up or, yeah. Okay, but he hears, the thing is though, is that he's hearing the heartbeat underneath the floor.
Is that even possible? No, right? Because he chopped up the bodies. So the old man is dead.
The man's dead, the heart is not beating. Yeah. So he's hearing a heartbeat, something's probably going wrong with his brain.
Yeah, so let's find out what exactly it is after this break.
Okay.
Hello， 大家好，我是 Hanny。我们在第一天的故事读到，老人有一只奇特的蓝眼睛，那年轻人很厌恶那只眼睛，后来把老人杀死，还把尸体分尸藏在地板下。那不久后，3名员警来敲门，这是因为有一位邻居有听到尖叫声，就把警察给叫来。那年轻人请警方进到屋内。他们就坐在老人尸体所在的正上方在交谈，这个画面想起来真是令人毛骨悚然哎。那我们可以用到 creepy 这个字 ，creepy， creepy 就是令人毛骨悚然的。
好，那么故事里面的年轻人就向警方谎称说是他做噩梦的时候发出了尖叫声，然后还说老人不在家。这个年轻人似乎要说服远警了，可是当他们说话的时候，有一个奇怪的声音开始充斥在他的耳朵里。起初一开始他不知道那是什么，但是随着声音越来越大，他就意识到那是老人的心脏，他还在地板下跳动，这也太惊悚了吧。好，那么 Shane 老师刚刚用到 underneath 这个介系词， under 后面再加上 neath， 那这个字表示在什么的下方底下。再来看课文单字 directly， 这个副词表示正好地或是直接地。Realize 则表示意识到、了解，它是个动词。然后 beat 表示跳动、拍打，那它的动词三态是 beat, beaten。好，那这边两个重点，我们进入文法时间。我们来看第一个重点是 WH 疑问词加主词加动词，用来当做名词子句。WH 疑问词像 what、where、why、when。Who, which, how 所引导的名词子句可以用来当主词、受词或者是补语。那我们就来看三个例句。第一个例句是 Why he left remains a mystery。他为何离开仍然是个谜。那这边的 Why he left 是当主词用。I don't know who he is。我不知道他是谁。那这时候 who he is 是当受词用。That's how we met， 那就是我们相遇的方式。那这时候 how we met 是当主词补语，用来补充主词，来让它语义完整。好，那第二个重点是 seem 或者是用 appear 后面加上 to v， 那么 to v 前面也可以加上 not 这样的用法。好 seem 跟 appear 都是当连缀动词，表达看起来似乎，后面可以接 to v 或者是接形容词。那否定的时候，我们就在 to v 的前面加上 not。好，来造两个例句。They seemed not to get along very well。他们似乎相处的不太融洽。She appeared annoyed by the questions。她似乎被那些问题弄得很烦。好，那接回到课文中。
To the young man, the sound was very loud, yet the police appeared not to hear a thing.Eventually, the young man couldn't stand the noise any longer. He screamed and told the police to rip up the floor because the old man was buried under it. The young man was caught.
Welcome back, everyone.
Welcome back.
So, before the break, we learned that the young man killed the old man, and the police came over because the neighbors actually heard a scream. But the young man played it off by saying that, oh, he had a nightmare. So it was him screaming from the nightmare, right? And he said that the old man was away. And in the beginning, it was quite convincing. I think the police officers believed him. But
he was doing good so far.
He was.
He's doing good.
But then he started hearing a sound of a heartbeat, and it was coming from under the floor where
he knew. Yeah, he knew the body was right underneath them.
Yeah, where he was buried.
And he can hear the heartbeat.
Yeah, so I wonder what happens next.
Okay, so continue. To the young man, the sound was very loud, yet the police appeared not to hear a thing. Okay? Eventually, the young man couldn't stand the noise any longer. So when we say eventually, we just mean after a period of time.
And then at the end,
Kind of like the end, right? And especially after waiting for a period of time. Eventually. Yeah.
Okay, so he couldn't stand the noise any longer. He screamed and told the police to rip up the floor because the old man was buried under it.
Well, so he just that quickly admitted to it.
I guess the sound of the heartbeat made him very scared or nervous, and he was just like, maybe he thought the old man was still alive or something.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Maybe he thought he's still alive, or maybe he thinks that's a ghost. We need to really kill it.
Yeah.
Because they think he's evil. So if you think something's evil and you try to kill like what you think is evil is like a monster. So maybe he thinks this monster is still not dead.
But the thing is, even though he thought the old man might be evil, he didn't think that way when the old man's eyes were closed. So you can kind of see that the young man kind of wasn't certain how he felt completely, right?
So he told them to rip up the floor. To rip something means to tear or break apart.
Yes.
Right? So they basically broke up the floor, and there's the old man buried under.
So bury, he buried him under the floor, right? So bury means to put something under the ground and cover it. Not always with dirt, but you just put something under the ground and cover it up, right?
Yeah, usually with dirt. That's like the basic idea.
Yeah.
But you can bury something under
Somewhere, something.
Any kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So he's buried under it, and the young man was caught. So he basically gave himself away.
Yeah. So for example...
Oh, for bury, yeah. What's the example sentence?
The example sentence, the body was buried in the woods so that nobody would find it.
Okay.
But when you watch movies, you always see the police officers with dogs, right? Sniffing out.
They find it. The dogs usually find it.
Yeah.
We have a what do you think question. Yes. Do you think there really was a sound coming from under the floor, or did the young man imagine it?
He definitely imagined it because the police didn't hear anything, right?
Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious that his conscience got to him.
Yeah, so what is it?
Or his own fear of getting caught, or his fear of this evil heartbeat or something. Like, I think this man was not really in his right mind.
Yeah, or maybe he felt bad about what he did.
That's possible too. He could just be having guilt.
Yes.
And due to the guilt, imagining that, oh my God, he's still alive. You know, maybe he felt a little bit regretful for killing the old man.
Or he just felt scared of getting caught because he did something
Who knows?
wrong.
But we do know that I don't think he really heard anything under there. It was in his imagination, for
definitely.
sure. Well, that was a really interesting story. It's a bit sad that this poor old man got murdered, but definitely psychologically interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, that's all the time we have for today. And thank you for joining us for this very interesting story.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
年轻人一直听到老人的心跳声，这个声音越来越大，可是警方似乎什么也没听到。最后呢，年轻人再也无法忍受那个声音，他大喊着要警方拆开地板，因为老人就埋在地板下。那么最后这个年轻人就被逮捕了。好，单字 bury 它表示埋藏、埋葬或者是掩埋。文中的 rip up something 则表示拆开什么，把什么撕成碎片。这个动词 rip 就可以表达迅速的扯开、撕裂。那最后补充一下 Shane 老师他刚刚用的 give oneself away 可以用来表达自己露出马脚。他还有说到 his conscience got to him， 那么 conscience 表示良心、良知，而 get to somebody 则可以表示对某人产生了影响，让某人厌烦、烦躁的意思。好，那以上的这些讲解，同学别走开，马上回来哦。Soon after, 3 police officers knocked on the front door. They were called by a neighbor who heard a scream. The young man invited the police inside, and they all sat and talked directly above where the old man's body lay. The young man lied and said that the scream came from him when he was having a bad dream. He also said that the old man was away. The young man seemed to be convincing the officers, but as they spoke, a strange sound began to fill his ears. At first, he wasn't sure what it was. However, as the noise became louder, he realized that it was the old man's heart. It was still beating under the floor. To the young man, the sound was very loud, yet the police appeared not to hear a thing. Eventually, the young man couldn't stand the noise any longer. He screamed and told the police to rip up the floor because the old man was buried under it. The young man was caught.
Have you ever heard of the word union? Union means the action of being joined together. Today, we're going to visit Chiayi Train Station, which used to be a Union train station. So what is a Union train station? It's a train station that has more than one railway line. So how many railway lines did Chiayi Train Station have? Well, we're gonna find out today. In Taiwan, there are some Union train stations with 3 different rail systems. These 3 different rail systems are usually railway, high-speed rail, and MRT. Chiayi Train Station was also a Union train station before, but it had a very different story. Chiayi Train Station was the first Union train station in Taiwan. This Union train station had the Western Trunk Line, the Alishan Forest Railway, and the Taiwan Sugar Railways. They had their own industries and features. The Western Trunk Line was the busiest line. It served many passengers every day. Until now, it was a main route to take passengers to their destinations. The Alishan Forest Railway was used to deliver wood. Its route was upwards around the mountain. Now it is used for tourism. Many tourists take the train to Alishan. The Taiwan Sugar Railways had a lot of routes in Taiwan. They carried sugarcane to mills. Of all the lines of sugar railways, the Beigang Line had the most traffic volume. Now all the lines of sugar railways are not used anymore. Chiayi Train Station is important in railway history. It experienced a lot of changes. Chiayi Train Station gives us a lot of memories. Now that we've caught a glimpse of its unique history, you definitely shouldn't miss the chance to visit Chiayi Train Station. Hope to see you there!